Hello, Facebook. I'm Evan Dashevsky, features editor with PCMag.com. Says it right here on my t-shirt. This is Tom Brand, hardware analyst with PCMag.com. And you're watching One Cool Thing. This is the daily Facebook streaming show where we go deep. We do a deep dive into one very cool thing. Maybe it's the thing. But most importantly, we want to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comments, and Social Jose will read them off throughout the show. But before we get started, I want to do this. Pew, pew, pew. I'm shooting you with a laser because this is part of the One Cool Thing. So what do we have here?
Exactly. I just heard a massive whoosh as our audience left because they were blinded by this laser pointer. So we have here.
It is not the laser pointer. We have more.
Yeah, it's not just a laser pointer. You can buy this and get a laser pointer. Well, this is the MateBook E, which is people who might be considering the Microsoft Surface may think that this is very familiar, and that's because it is. It's essentially a tablet with this nifty keyboard stand. The MateBook E is...
I'm going to step off for 1 second because apparently I'm malfunctioning.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, so the MateBook E is basically, it's an alternative to both the Surface Pro and also the iPad Pro, the larger model of the iPad Pro, because it has a 12-inch screen. The screen. Speaking of the screen, it's a great screen. It's not quite as dense in terms of pixels per inch as the Surface Pro or the iPad, but it is a very good screen. Unfortunately, that's pretty much the high point of the MateBook E. Everything else is good, but not quite what we expect in terms of the high-end Surface Pro competitors. Right. Mainly the battery. The battery is really the thing that's concerning because it lasted 8.5 hours on our battery rundown test, which really it's enough to go all day if you're just watching video and not doing any intensive processing things. But if you're editing a spreadsheet, maybe multitasking, occasionally streaming YouTube videos, 8.5 hours is going to shrink down, and you're probably going to have to plug it in.
Right. Okay. So we like the screen.
Yes.
We like the form factor, and we just don't like the battery life. We
yeah.
Let's also go over with what you get with the package. So this starts at $800. This is the starting price. This format we have here is $1,000.
Yeah. So we actually have the upgraded Core i5 model here.
Okay.
The base $799 version comes with a Core M3 processor, which it prioritizes power savings over performance, so it's not going to be a screaming performer. The Core i5 in this one is actually a 7th generation Y series processor, which means that it also prioritizes power savings. So again, I wasn't going to expect high performance from this, and you can read the review for the actual performance numbers that we got. But the trade-off for that, I was expecting to have excellent battery life, and I didn't really get it.
So who's the audience for this? This is not for people who want to consume and just like do Netflix and stuff. Do they want people who are like business professionals doing their Excel and PowerPoints? And stuff
I think that the traditional audience for a detachable laptop hybrid like this one is really someone who's out and about at meetings all day, and then when they get home late at night, they're tired. They just want to watch videos, whatever, on the couch. They can detach the. They can detach the tablet. It's a magnetic pogo-style connector here, and it's very easy to detach and transform into a tablet. So that's kind of the type of people that Huawei is looking to sell to.
Okay, then you get the pen. And
so actually, no, the pen is an extra. I'm not sure how much the pen costs.
Okay.
But the stuff that's included is basically just this keyboard cover and the tablet. The pen is nifty though, because the screen, as I said, the screen is great. It has it's an excellent touchscreen, and it's even better when you are drawing with Windows 10 features with the pen, because it's extremely responsive and there's no latency when as you can see here, I'm drawing this. It's much easier to do that than to do with your finger.
Now, this was the competitor you said to the Surface laptop?
Surface Pro, yes, mainly
Surface Pro.
Surface
What's the
Pro.
price of that one?
So the Surface Pro is much more expensive. The version we tested, I'm not sure of the exact price, but it was well over $1,000, like close to $2,000.
Right.
So obviously, you can't compare these one for one, but I think that really, if you are someone who is looking to get a lot out of this during the day, like let's say you are even doing some light multimedia image video editing, you're going to want to invest a little bit more in the Surface Pro or a traditional laptop. I mean, this is the other thing too, is that $1,000 for a tablet, that's a lot of money. That's more expensive than the iPad Pro.
Facebook, you have a question.
Can it be upgraded?
No, as a tablet, there is nothing that you can do. I mean, even Ultrabooks now are hard to upgrade. This is impossible. It's literally, as you can see here, it's an extremely thin tablet. There's nothing that you can open on this thing. The only ports that it has is actually a USB-C port and a headphone jack, and that's going to get all of your connectivity. So charging, plugging in an external hard drive, all of that stuff has to go through the USB-C port.
Okay. So then, what are the other competitors to this for, say, for a similar aspect? So there's probably things we like better than this, correct?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. For a couch computer, a great couch computer,
okay.
I would go with an iPad or an Android tablet because you don't really, unless you really are out and about all day and traveling a lot and need one thing, a two-in-one convertible laptop like this, laptop hybrid like this is a very tough buy. It's not an easy decision to buy that because you're spending a lot of money for something that's not quite as good as a regular laptop and much less of a value proposition than an iPad or an Android tablet.
Now, as far as processing power, this is going to do the Microsoft Office and all that stuff just fine. Would you go as far as to do sound editing on this?
You could. I mean, as I always say with the Core i5 Y series processors and things like that, it's just going to take longer because they're prioritizing power savings. You can see actually the difference. So this draws 4.5 watts of power.
Okay.
A normal Core i7 or the non-power saving version of Core i5 draw like 15. Okay. So it's a big difference in terms of power draw. The one thing that's great about this one though, the upgrade version of the MateBook E, is that it has a 256 gigabyte hard drive, which I think is relatively good for a tablet that this thin. It's a solid state drive. Yeah. The base version comes with 128.
Let's also maybe just talk about the actual model and the hardware here.
Yeah.
It feels solid. I actually really like the case that it comes with. It's got this I'm gonna guess faux leather.
Yeah, it's not quite leather, but it feels nice.
It feels solid. And then this is pretty skinny. It's very light.
Yeah, so I think it's actually about one. I don't know the exact weight of this, but I think it's about 1.4 pounds. That sounds exact. Don't quote me on that. It's about around 1.5 pounds without the cover.
Right.
Adding the cover though jumps up to about the same weight as an Ultrabook.
Yeah. How's the sound on it?
The sound comes out of these two top-facing speaker grills here. There are 2 speakers, not 4 like you might get on the iPad Pro. The sound has no bass. It's virtually no bass. It will work in a pinch.
So if you hate bass, this is the product for you.
But ultimately, you are probably going to want to plug in a headphone or connect to a Bluetooth speaker.
Right.
The other interesting thing about hardware on this thing, it has a front-facing 5-megapixel webcam, which doesn't take great photos, but it's perfectly adequate for video conferencing. The types of things you're probably going to use this for if you're if you're using this for business purposes. Unfortunately, there's no camera on the back.
Yeah.
So you only get one camera with this.
Right.
With this thing.
But the tablet back camera, I don't know how often people use it.
Yeah, don't take this on vacation and try to use this as your camera like so many people do.
Those are weirdos. If you're using your tablet as a camera, that's a weird thing to do. Okay, and then and it's running on Windows 10, not the Windows 10s nonsense.
Right. This comes with a full version of Windows 10. We have Windows. This is not Windows 10 Pro on here, but it's not Windows 10s, which is the Windows 10s is essentially a hobbled version that cannot run apps not approved from the Windows Store.
And I assume Bluetooth?
This has Bluetooth.
Another way to get your peripherals in there if you need that? Yeah.
Right. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. There's a volume rocker on the left-hand side here. The keyboard is actually very good for such a thin keyboard. Oh, it's welcoming us.
Actually, that is
the keyboard is
deep for
it's backlit.
It is backlit.
It has good key travel. It might not be able to see in the studio, but it's definitely backlit.
Just trust you on that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the touchpad is not great. It has pretty bad palm rejection, which is to say that if you're using it and you're typing, you're going to get random cursor movements, or at least I did. But that's fine because most of your interactions will come through the touchscreen.
Cool. Okay, do we have any more questions?
How would you say this works with gamers?
So with the Core i5 Y series processor and integrated graphics, it's not going to run any games. Period. No, it'll run some games.
Snake, Tetris.
but you're but you're not going to be satisfied with this. Hooking it up to like a gaming keyboard and mouse and playing some World of Warcraft on here. The interesting thing about the Surface Pro, as we mentioned the Surface Pro a couple times, it does have Intel Iris graphics, which that can achieve some frame rates above 30 frames per second that might run, you might consider running a more intensive game on medium settings, but not this one. This one is not good for that.
An HD screen, I assume.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's full HD.
Yeah.
Again, I don't remember the exact pixels. I will say that I don't see much of a difference between this, the iPad Pro screen, and the Surface Pro screen. But technically, this does have a lower pixels per inch.
I mean, I'm of the school that says once you get over to 300, 400 PPI, which everything's been doing for years, it's diminishing returns. So
right.
You keep pushing those more pixels in there.
And especially if you're upgrading to the MateBook from an older tablet or an older laptop, you're gonna notice a huge difference, and you're going to be very satisfied, I think.
Let's also just talk about the Huawei ecosystem as well.
Yeah.
It's newish to Americans, at least. I don't know. Is this? Are there Huawei's that we like more than this?
So this is actually the MateBook E is the Huawei's second attempt at selling a convertible hybrid detachable in the U.S. They started with the MateBook a couple years ago. We had similar issues. I didn't review that one. We had similar issues with the MateBook, which is that it's it's great for what it's attempting to do, but it kind of falls short of being a super high-end thing along the lines of the Microsoft Surface. So Huawei has their hands in many other things, though. They also have a MateBook X, which is a traditional laptop that's essentially a MacBook Air look-alike.
What do we think of that?
Not as good as the MacBook Air.
Okay.
And then they've also been introducing phones as well to the U.S. One of the most surprising things that Huawei has done is bring their Honor phones to the U.S., starting with the Honor 8 last year. It's like a youth-oriented brand with David Beckham's son as their spokesperson. And so they're trying to do lots of interesting things to see what works in the U.S. This is one of those experiments, I would say.
Okay, so let's brass tacks it. We give it 3.5 stars. Kind of like, there are better options.
I'm gonna
consumers.
stop you though.
Okay,
it's a 3. Yeah, it's actually 3 stars. So it's a
just
good.
3 stars.
It's good,
Yeah.
but based on everything that we've mentioned, it doesn't quite rise to the level of. It's worth probably spending a little bit more money to get an even better one.
Facebook, did you have any more questions? We're good to go. Okay, so we're here every day at 10 a.m. Eastern here on the Facebook. We'll see you tomorrow with a brand new One Cool Thing.